The world's come to expect great things from UC Davis. The bold, the daring, the big ideas that do more than address today. They solve for tomorrow. Because we've never viewed better as before and after. Systems are ever evolving, and instead of letting them evolve around us, we change with them and lead the charge. We invite you to lead with us, answering the questions the world has yet to ask, educating the students who dream of a brighter, healthier, and more just tomorrow, shaping the course of what's happening to what can and should be. We keep the big picture in frame with a clear understanding of every detail. Bringing that image into focus, it takes a different way of thinking. A different way of looking at the world. It takes a fresh point of view beyond a single vision. The kinds of collaborations that advance what's healthy, humane, and right. The kind of approaches that push the edges of unconventional. The kinds of solutions that reframe what's possible. The kinds of leaders that reveal a new way forward. Big ideas that seem unimaginable at the start simply need the time and space to grow. To uproot injustice, to remove barriers, to break through. And to do it all over again, better. When the world calls on UC Davis, it expects great things. With your help, we can show the world it should expect even greater. Expect greater from UC Davis for the world.
Hello, I'm Chancellor Gary May, and welcome to our Plugged In event series. I'm excited for today's event because it focuses on a topic that is near and dear to my heart, our students. UC Davis students are bright, hardworking individuals who've committed themselves to bettering their lives, and oftentimes the lives of their entire family through education. We are passionate at UC Davis about supporting them as they work to achieve their goal of earning a college degree. The speakers you will hear from today are members of my team who are leading initiatives that are creating an exceptional undergraduate experience here at UC Davis. As supporters of our university, you are also an important part of the team. Your philanthropic gifts to scholarships, student programming, and more are essential. They make sure that barriers are removed, stresses are alleviated, and that our students are best positioned to be successful, both at UC Davis and in their career pursuits after graduation. This type of support is so vital that we've designated it as one of the pillars of our recently launched $2 billion fundraising campaign, Expect Greater. The pillar is preparing change makers. It means we are committed to investing in all aspects of students' education so these young scholars can graduate as forward-thinking, problem-solving go-getters. We are preparing them to bring about positive change for the betterment of our world. And with a team of supporters like you behind them, I know they will be successful. Thank you for sharing your time with us today and for your continued support of UC Davis. Go Ags!
Good afternoon. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Pablo Reguerin. I serve as the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, and I'm also a proud alumnus of UC Davis. In my role as Vice Chancellor, I oversee the creation and development of the programs and services that promote an excellent undergraduate experience here at UC Davis. In short, my job is to make sure our students are fully supported to be the best they can be, to support students in making an impact, to be change makers here at UC Davis and beyond, I'm thrilled to serve our students and the campus community, and I bring a lot of passion and love to my work. I'm also pleased to be the moderator for today's Plugged In event, which is focusing on undergraduate excellence and preparing the change makers of tomorrow. These Plugged In events are for you, the supporters of UC Davis, so we can stay connected during these times of social distancing, and so we can give you an insider's look into the many exciting things happening here at UC Davis. For today's event, you're going to hear from a panel of leaders from various segments of our campus, including undergraduate education, athletics, global affairs, the School of Management, and more. All of these leaders are leading innovative initiatives for our students. I'll be in each member and then give them an opportunity to discuss an element of undergraduate excellence that touches on their department and area of expertise. We will continue with this format until all the panelists have had an opportunity to speak, and then we will open it up for a Q&A session. You may have already submitted your questions before the webinar, or some questions may pop into your mind during the presentation. As that happens, please type your questions into the Q&A section on your screen so that we can draw from that list to ask things of the panelists. If you have a question for a particular panelist, please be sure to mention their name in your question. Lastly, there will be a short poll after the Q&A that we ask that you please fill out so we can learn more about your areas of interest and so that we can plan events for the future. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Interim Vice Provost and Dean of Undergraduate Education, Cynthia Carter-Ching. As Interim Vice Provost and Dean of Undergraduate Education, Cynthia Carter-Ching oversees all elements of undergraduate education at UC Davis. She is leading several key initiatives for UC Davis students, including an educational experience at Aggie Square, which is, of course, UC Davis's newest campus in Sacramento that is focused on innovative and engaged scholarship with the community. She's also playing a major role in UC Davis's use of technology to create active learning environments and a strong graduation pathway in this era of distance learning. Dr. Carter-Ching, I'd like to start the events by asking you, what makes you the most excited about undergraduate excellence at UC Davis?
Thank you, Pablo. That was such a nice introduction. I sound like a big deal. I should just have you introduce me all the time. So I could talk for a long time about undergraduate excellence on this campus, but related to the topic of this event in particular, I'll say that one of the things that not only excites but routinely impresses me is that, yes, our undergraduates want to be change makers. They want to change the world. But a lot of them don't want to wait until they graduate to do it. They don't consider their undergraduate years as just some kind of training ground or front-loading exercise where then after 4 or 5 years, they get a piece of paper and a fancy hat with a tassel and that says, okay, now you can go change the world, right? No, they want to start on day one on campus as soon as they walk in the door. So we have to think about, okay, what kinds of opportunities are we giving them to do that? So as a research university, one way we change the world is through our research, our discoveries, the way we build knowledge and innovation. And at UC Davis, undergraduates can get involved in that. We have first-year seminars program called CURES, which stands for Course-Based Undergraduate Research Experience, that offers brand new freshmen and transfer students the opportunity to work in a small class with a faculty member on their research area. Also, our undergraduate research center places students in immersive research relationships with faculty mentors in laboratories, field sites, research groups, and summer research experiences. And then our honors program, for those students for their 4th year capstone experience, they conduct independent research on a project of their own choosing under the direction of a faculty member. So we are focusing on undergraduate participation in research in many ways, but students are really just clamoring for more of this. Our programs are dramatically oversubscribed, and we could always do more if we had the capacity to do it. Another way we change the world, though, is through our direct impact through immediate and concrete engagements with communities, regions, and private and civic institutions. And students are all over this too. Right? So I'm glad that Court at Aggie Square was mentioned earlier, because that is well on its way to being a crown jewel in the university's regional impact. Basically, with this program, students enroll in a special quarter wherein all their courses are coordinated and themed to be about socially relevant topics like transformative justice in education, immigration, biomedical technology, multilingualism, etc. And then they participate in topically related internships with either the partner tenant organizations at Aggie Square, on the Medical Center campus, or with the surrounding community of Sacramento, like Oak Park. So that's in the early stages, but we're very excited about it. And then also in terms of impact and engagement, we have part of our honors program wherein in their third year, students volunteer or intern with an eye toward some kind of service experience related to their overall program of study. So yeah, our students want to change the world. The thing about world changing though is that it's time consuming. And so for some of our students anyway, time is money. The hours they might spend in an internship or a research lab experience are hours they aren't spending working and getting paid a lot of the time, unless they have some kind of fellowship that covers them, right? But right now, those are kind of few and far between. So we have a situation in which there can be financial barriers to these opportunities and experiences for students. But if we had more funds available for sponsoring students in these types of activities, that would be world changing, for them in particular, but also for the rest of us as we watch and ultimately benefit from what these amazing students can do and what they will become. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. I would like to now introduce Dr. Rao Unava, Dean of our nationally ranked Graduate School of Management. The Graduate School of Management primarily runs several graduate business programs at UC Davis. At the undergraduate level, the school offers a technology management minor, an accounting minor, and a new minor in innovation and entrepreneurship, which is currently under development. Dean Unava, can you please share with us more about the Graduate School of Management's efforts to provide opportunities for undergraduate students to learn about innovation and entrepreneurship, and why having that mindset is so important for the next generation?
Thank you, Pablo, and my thanks to all the alumni and parents who have joined us today. Some of you might wonder why the Graduate School of Management is part of a panel that's focused on undergraduate education. As Pablo said, we have two minors, technology management and accounting at the undergrad level, which together brought in close to 5,000 students from UC Davis taking courses in those minors. When it comes to innovation and entrepreneurship, it's very easy to run after the shiny object of teaching undergraduates to become entrepreneurs like Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or Sergey Brin. And that's what most schools try to do. What I love about UC Davis is how grounded folks here are. And they always try to do the right thing rather than the most popular thing. And let me explain why I say that. Because you can always have a program that makes it really sexy for the undergrads to say, oh, this is a great program, I'll become an entrepreneur like Bill Gates or whatever. Well, the data don't seem to support that thinking. The average age of a successful entrepreneur in the United States is 42. And when I mean successful, what I would like to say is they are the people who have run a company for more than 5 years. They have had patents. They have received venture capital investments. These kinds of companies, if you evaluate them, the average age of an entrepreneur is in the 40s. Now, the work experience that they have attained before they started the company seems to be critical in making this happen. And what's also interesting is every 3 years of experience that you get after your degree program seems to increase the success rate of the company that you start. In fact, if you look at the growth that happened in companies like Microsoft or Google, Amazon, Apple, these are all companies that have been started by entrepreneurs who were very young when they started it. But as you look at the progression of these companies, it looks like most of them really became highly valuable from a market perspective when those entrepreneurs were in the 30s and 40s. It's interesting. In fact, Daniel Kim, who wrote an article about this in the Harvard Business Review, citing a lot of research in this area, said in teaching entrepreneurship, universities tend to focus on encouraging students to start new companies while they are in school or shortly after graduation. Perhaps that's the wrong model, because what the results of our research are showing is that this might lead to suboptimal entry of young workers into entrepreneurship. And GSM, the Graduate School of Management, and the faculty here understand this. And so they have chosen actually not to develop an entrepreneur per se, but to develop somebody who has an entrepreneurial mindset. Our Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which is the result of a generous donation from our alumni, Mike and Renee Child, achieves this in multiple ways. First, we have a proposal, as Pablo was talking about, for a campus-wide minor in innovation and entrepreneurship. This minor actually teaches students how to think about things from a design thinking perspective, how to be creative in problem solving, what is entrepreneurial accounting or finance or marketing, and why is it different from corporate marketing and so on, and leadership and team building. These are the skills that you need when you walk into a company in the beginning to understand how corporate America even works. It's then that you start developing your ideas, but we are equipping you with an entrepreneurial mindset through this minor, and you will be a very different person going out into the industry because you're thinking about problems differently, you're looking at solutions. We also have several co-curricular activities that we run through the Institute. For example, the Big Bang Business Plan Competition is in its 21st year and has generated several entrepreneurs because they have been coached by our team to be successful in general. The launch of the 21st Business Plan Competition actually happened very recently, October 22nd. It was streamed on Facebook Live. And the theme of this campaign, which is interesting because it maps on to what we are doing today, it's the change makers for a better world. And these pillars that we are pursuing in this competition represent basically UC Davis. It's the energy area, it's the food and agriculture area, it's the human health industry, animal health and industry, and social entrepreneurship, which is a new thing. And we had a keynote speaker, Rebecca Moses, who was the head of impact strategy at Impossible Foods. Again, a very state-of-the-art company out there. We also offer something called the Undergraduate Entrepreneurship Academy. And in fact, today is the second day of this offering. The undergrad students from all over campus come together to start understanding what entrepreneurship means. They understand how to develop a problem-solving mindset rather than trying to become an entrepreneur right away, and then slowly start building their portfolio in order for them to become successful. In fact, another study recently has shown, just to add to what I'm saying, that even after an MBA, now imagine somebody gets an MBA about 5 to 6 years after their undergrad degree. Even after getting an MBA, most successful entrepreneurs had worked for 3 years before they launched their companies that have become the unicorns today. So that's the kind of mindset we are trying to create through this Entrepreneurship Academy, which is again open to all the undergraduate students. And then we have an innovation and entrepreneurship conference that we do every year, but because of COVID virus, we were not able to do it in October this year. Instead, what we are trying to do is to create that conference in the form of multiple talks that we have arranged one every quarter. And the fall event, which is on November 30th, features Jonathan Reckford, who is the CEO of Habitat for Humanity. So these are some of the things we do at the undergraduate level, where we try to teach the students how to think innovatively, how to look at things entrepreneurially, because all the companies that we have been talking to tell us that they really are not looking for somebody to start something, but they actually would like somebody to start thinking like an entrepreneur. We want them to go work for startups first to pick up on what it takes for you to make a company go all the way. In fact, my own experience tells me I was 36 when I started my first company, and I was 50 when I started my second company. And I couldn't have done what I did when I was 21 or 22 because I learned a lot in the process. I developed relationships, I developed work experience. That mindset is what is being created at UC Davis, which is very unique because not many universities are thinking like that. And I feel very proud to be part of that kind of culture, that kind of faculty who want to do the right thing, not just the popular thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Unava. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our next panelist, Vice Provost and Dean of Global Affairs, Joanna Regulska. Dr. is internationally known for her more than 3 decades of experience in building innovative and collaborative international and global programs that transform institutions and student experiences. At UC Davis, she is spearheading a visionary initiative to ensure that all undergraduate students will gain from valuable global learning experiences before they graduate. Dr. Regulska, can you tell us more about this campus goal of a global education for all? And why do you think it is so important for the next generation to have global experiences during their undergraduate education?
Thank you so much, Dr. Akwiran. And I also want to thank so much to the event organizers and most of all to all Global Aggies for joining us today. We already talked about some very important dimensions of why this is important to engage globally. We talk about the mindset. We talk about changing culture. So I'm thrilled to share with you more about the global education for all. Simply put, we aim to provide 100% of our students with global learning experiences before their graduation to prepare them really to engage with the global challenges and opportunities within this very much globalized world. To speak why we know this is important, I think the answer is actually twofold. First of all, we know students are interested in gaining global skills, knowledge, perspectives, and networks. These are desirable for their career, as we already have talked. But this is also desirable for their lives. We also know that students want to work alongside communities across culture and geographic boundaries to make a difference. At the same time, challenges we face require globally minded entrepreneurs that we just talked about, teachers, scientists, artists, and all types of professionals who are actually empathetic, who understand the issues in a cross-cultural context, and will collaborate to find solutions in an equitably sound way. I think especially now, it is clear that our world is very much interconnected. Our local challenges become global, but vice versa. The global challenges are now our local challenges. Pandemic and these global challenges demand collaboration. They demand collaboration across borders, and then demand the collaboration across disciplines, as we all know. So in a certain way, there's no question that to be effective change makers who might meet these challenges with solutions, our students need global learning. This will enable them in building global awareness, in engaging in a global diversity, and also taking global action that is so critical these days. I will point out to 3 exciting emphasis that I want everybody to keep in mind as we talk about these global challenges. First of all, you might be wondering, does this mean really that every student will study abroad? And my answer is not necessarily. We do offer really fantastic opportunities abroad. These are faculty-led. This is our faculty who are taking our students all over the world to different continents and countries. But we are committed to expanding all types of offerings to all of our students. So for example, on the campus, we now have a global living and learning community in partnership with student housing. We have courses that address global challenges. internships that we already talked about, research that we also talked about, community engaged learning, leadership opportunities, and the list can go on and on and on, because we can build numbers of different ways through which we can engage students. Secondly, we believe that global learning actually takes place anywhere. Even within restricted travel, students can engage with the world on campus, in Sacramento, in Central Valley, or even remotely. This summer, we supported Gina Weinstein and several students as interns with an organization called Team for Tech. So Gina worked remotely with students and partners in Rwanda, Malawi, and Kenya. Not only did she learn about international collaboration, time management, and her career path, and she has not been outside United States, but by participating, in fact, she did travel outside of United States and engage with colleagues on the African continent. So she did have a global experience through global internship. In other words, she was doing it online, not in person. But as we talked to Gina, she showed us how profoundly, deeply changing that experience was to her and how it is changing her future professional development. Another student, Evan Pearson, participated in a global leadership program with an organization called Diversity Abroad, an opportunity he also would have missed if it not involved travel, since he was already doing another internships, actually here in Sacramento with the Northern California World Trade Center. And thirdly, when we say all, we truly mean all students. Davis is ranked first in the US for diversity and internationalization for a reason. We are focused on making global learning available to all students. We have a one-stop shop for opportunities and resources through our Global Learning Hub. We are removing barriers such as costs and international travel. So these opportunities are available to all. And we're helping students translate these experiences into postgraduate opportunities through programs like Global Learning Conference. I could go on and on and on, but I just wanted to really emphasize, we are partnering across the campus and the world, and we are thrilled to partner with alumni and supporters. You make this all possible. Gina would have not have such an amazing experience if it wasn't for scholarship she received, thanks to support she received from you, whether through scholarships for students or grants for faculty to globalize courses and much more. So please refer to chat, where we will actually have some links into the ways in which we can partner with you and we can support together our students and faculty. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the further discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Regulska. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Kevin Blue, Director of Intercollegiate Athletics at UC Davis. In addition to being a former student athlete himself at Stanford, Dr. Blue is responsible for leading all aspects of the UC Davis NCAA Division I athletics program, including ensuring academic success for hundreds of student athletes and upholding our university's culture that Aggie student athletes are students first. Under his leadership, UC Davis has launched a new career and personal development program that is mandatory for all UC Davis student athletes, called the Aggie Evo system. Dr. Blue, can you tell us more about Aggie Evo, the Aggie Evo system, and how it's helping our student athletes?
Hi, everybody. Pablo, thank you. It's great to be on, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit more about Aggie Evo, which, as Pablo said, is our program in athletics that we use to help our student athletes focus on what's going to come next after sports. And, you know, the culture in collegiate athletics is obviously very competitive. People are interested in winning. And fortunately at UC Davis, we've been able to have some success in the last little while, especially in sports like women's basketball, where we've won the conference championship 4 years in a row. We also at UC Davis focus a lot on academics. The student athlete model is very important to us, and our academic performance has been fantastic. For example, in the spring quarter, our average team grade point average was 3.5. So we're very happy with that. But the theme of today's presentation is about Aggie launch and launching people into careers after they graduate. So that's another area in which UC Davis Athletics seeks to win. And that's what we launched the Aggie Evo program to do. People often tell us that student athletes make great hires. I think people admire the student athlete's skill set of time management and determination and teamwork and working in a diverse environment towards a common goal. But what we found actually, as we've learned more about student athletes and the adjustments that they make, is that the adjustment from your primary identity as a person being about being an athlete, transitioning that to some other pursuit, whether that be graduate school or a job or some other passion, is an adjustment that takes some time. And often athletes need additional support to make sure that they're exposed to all of the great things that a UC Davis education can provide for you once you enter the real world. So what we did was we created the Aggie Evo program. And Evo, which is essentially short form for the word evolution, is a required program for all student athletes that includes a set of requirements that each student athlete must complete every year, depending on the year of eligibility and how far along they are towards graduation. So there are requirements related to resumes, there's requirements related to informational interviews that student athletes must perform in their post-sports field of interest. There are requirements for our teams and coaches to invite alumni back to their practices to talk about their jobs and how they got there. All of the requirements are tracked, and we make sure that that student athletes, as a condition of being a student athlete, that they're completing all of their Evo system requirements. And we're finding that this is a really effective way to make sure that our student athletes, right from the first day they arrive as student athletes here, are on track to think about what's next and to move into really successful postgraduate opportunities. Some examples of recent things that we've done with the Aggie Evo system include a collaboration with an organization called Project Destined, which we were introduced to and are receiving support from a generous alum of our basketball program named Jordan Moss. Project Destined works with students really from underrepresented backgrounds who are interested in learning more and accessing opportunities and careers in corporate real estate and finance. And we have a cohort of student athletes participating in this program right now, and they're doing great, and they're learning a lot and gaining a lot of access to career paths that they may not have had access to before. Last week, we also conducted a virtual road trip. In the COVID era, we're not able to do our conventional normal road trips, which is a part of Evo. Usually we take our student athletes to Sacramento, San Francisco, Silicon Valley to visit with companies and to visit with alums, and we weren't able to do that because of COVID. So we conducted a virtual road trip, which was fantastic, and we had a number of alumni participate in that and contribute. We had one of our former football players who's a surgeon actually film a lot of what was going on in their job, and it was really an interesting experience for our student athletes to participate in. A third example of what we do in Evo system is we have student athlete groups that are focused on specific areas of interest in their careers. So we have an athletes in medicine group, we have an athletes in business group, and this is some peer-to-peer support, and the student athletes are able to access opportunities and support each other along their paths. One thing that we found with Evo that's been really positive is that it creates some really excellent side effects. Although the intent of the program initially is just to really help our student athletes launch into great careers and into grad school, we're also finding that Evo is a fantastic way to engage our alumni. We have a network of almost 500 alumni that are working to help our student athletes, and they all take tremendous pride in seeing UC Davis student athletes succeed in their careers. And as a result, they're more engaged with our athletics program than ever before. Additionally, our coaches are finding that the Evo program is a particularly important asset in recruiting. Increasingly, students and their parents are interested in, what is coming to play sports at UC Davis or any other school going to set me up for the rest of my life. And when we have the Evo program, it helps our prospects and our recruits understand the great things that a UC Davis education can set you up for down the road. So we're really proud of the progress we've made. We appreciate everybody out there, especially some of you on this call that have been very supportive philanthropically of EVO, and we are eager to continue growing it and continue contributing to the university's broader effort to engage the community, to help our students move from UC Davis into great positions of success, whether that's in grad school or into their great first job. So thank you for the opportunity to be on with you today.
Thank you, Dr. Blue. Thank you again to all of our panelists for their interesting and thoughtful insights to the undergraduate experience at UC Davis. Before we get to our questions, I'd like to say just a quick statement about why I'm so passionate about undergraduate excellence at UC Davis. Today's workforce, as you heard, and our world overall is demanding, multifaceted, fast-paced, and ever-changing. To ensure that every student, regardless of their place in life, social inequality, or their interests and or future ambitions, is set up for success to meet these demands, we here at UC Davis are committing ourselves to prepare change makers. We want to make sure our students graduate on time with knowledge, work ethic, and drive to take on the world. We want to make sure they feel prepared to be both adaptable to and thriving through change, and also be agents of positive change. This is the best way that we can fulfill our mission as a public land-grant institution through using our knowledge, research, and public service to advance the future of our students and society at the same time. These two go hand in hand. I could go on further, but I won't, because I want to hear from all of you. We have some questions that have been submitted, so we'll take a dive into those questions and put them out to our panelists. How can we continue providing an impactful hand-on experience for our students during the pandemic? And we'll start with Cynthia, and I may add to your response, Cynthia, but let's start with you, please.
Sure. Thanks, Pablo. So there are several answers to this question from my perspective. One is that there are ways in which having an impactful experience is possible in some ways in this remote instruction situation that wasn't as possible before. It's like the answer that you totally didn't expect, right? Counterintuitive. And one of those things is that students are able to do remote research internships with faculty who are really involved in data science, right? So it's not that you necessarily need to be in a laboratory in order to have that research experience, and you can in fact do it remotely because it's all done via computers anyway, right? So there's that. We've actually been able to place a lot of students still with faculty who are doing sort of very data heavy kinds of work. Also, our UCDC Washington DC program had to go remote this year, and we were kind of worried about it. And as it turns out, we have 45 students signed up for winter to do virtual internships with various governmental and civic organizations in Washington, DC. And to me, that speaks to the question of like, well, maybe these are students who wouldn't necessarily have been available to fly to DC to, do all of that sort of pick up and leave your family and your community and your everything else and go live in DC for 3 months. So they're not doing that place-based internship, but they're getting that meaningful professional experience regardless. And then finally, as far as the hands-on component of that question goes, we actually did something fairly remarkable this quarter in that we shipped a whole ton of hands-on laboratory materials to students so that they could do guided labs at home in some of their courses. We didn't send dangerous materials through the mail that are, like not allowed or whatever, but there was a lot of building stuff, art supplies, kinds of science lab materials. So really, like, we're developing innovations and ways of doing hands-on even at a distance.
I'll add a little bit here. ways that we can continue offering some hands-on experience for students is to create new opportunities, and specifically in response to the pandemic. So one of the public health initiatives from our campus, as in a partnership with Student Affairs and our Department of Public Health, was the creation of 250 student positions as Aggie public health ambassadors, who are ensuring that folks in the community are using masks, that they are practicing social distancing, and it's a community education position that's vitally needed right now in response to the pandemic. And student employment overall can continue and has continued. Supervisors and managers of students have had to reshift how they assign work, having those can do, and getting to an end product. And so everyone has had to shift, but those are a couple of the ways, both creating new opportunities and reshifting how we work, that still allows for room in the creativity that Cynthia was speaking about. So now we will go to our next question. This one is for Joanna. Due to travel restrictions, students are unable to travel and participate in study abroad programs. How are you preparing students to be future leaders in global society without traveling abroad?
So unfortunately, we couldn't mail the tickets that Cynthia did, although I wish we were so rich and so well endowed that we could put to every student a ticket when pandemics end, that they can go on the plane and go wherever they want. So I hope we're going to be able to do it with your support. In the meantime, however, we have done enormous amount of online activities. And first of all, we listened to our students. We did a survey and we asked students, no study abroad right now. What else can we do for you? What is it that you need? And what came is professional development, internships. We want to learn skills. We want to develop our career, because when the pandemic is over, we're gonna be ready. So let me give you a couple examples. First of all, right now, this week, actually, we have a global learning showcase, and we have hosted 25 sessions this week, ranging from how to find funding for global experience, to hearing from students, to career development, and so forth. And we have almost 1,000 students attending. I attended a few sessions. Every session was 20, 30, 40, 50 students. I mean, it was fabulous. We also created a very new series called Global Career Development Series. And what we're doing here is featuring campus and external experts and panels, presentations, and workshops on global career development, on global opportunities for graduation, and so forth. And we have a new series, also Global Conversation Series, featuring again campus and external experts to really discuss global challenges and opportunities. But this particular series is focusing on sustainable development goals, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Our students are the future leaders that will be engaged in sustainable development goals. And we have to prepare them to be aware, engage in different topics. So as you know, sustainable development goals, there are 17 of them. There are plenty of opportunities for everybody, absolutely everybody. And we're starting a new series called Becoming a Global Learner. And that is in planning, and of course, virtual summer internships and coursework, and actually working with Cynthia around the partnership with the first year seminar and first year Aggie connections and so forth. So there's plenty of opportunity. This is happening online, virtually, but the demand is actually extraordinary, and it's really surpassing our expectations.
Thank you, Joanna. Rao, I'd like to ask you the next question. Can you, what would be one piece of advice you could provide to students who are entering the business world or who are interested in social entrepreneurship?
Sure. One of the first things I tell people about anything that they do is try to understand what is actually the value that is being provided. because ultimately when a consumer is willing to purchase a product or a service, it means that they feel that the money they're paying for that is less valuable than having the product or service. And therefore, first of all, any company that you join, you have to understand, how is this company even able to survive? What is it that's doing to provide value? And then the next question, the corollary is, how can I make sure that I add value to this company? Because when they're paying you a salary in the beginning, it's because they see that whatever salary they're paying you is less than what you're bringing to them. So how do you ensure that you continue to provide value to your company? And that's, of course, a little bit of thinking. And there are some simple tips we can use for that. Instead of thinking as broadly and abstractly, I always tell people, please remember that your job is not to prove that your boss is an idiot, but try to make sure that you make your boss look good. Because there is a reason why he or she is your boss. And you need to really work on making that boss look good by contributing to the boss's success. Because when the boss is successful, they will take you with them because you are the one who made them successful. So when you start your career, it's as simple as just thinking about, how do I make my boss look good? And that's where the value and all those things start coming in. And when somebody likes the way you are working, they take you in as their mentee, and they teach you great lessons that will become life lessons for the future. And you can do whatever after that, just because you have been humble enough to learn from some of these people. So my advice always is, try to figure out how to provide value, and then make sure that you make your boss look good, whoever it is that you're working with.
Very practical advice. Next question is for Cynthia. How can UC Davis help undergraduate students find research opportunities in a pandemic?
Sure. So our undergraduate research center actually excels at that. They're doing a lot of that right now. We offer regular workshops for students on how to get involved in research, how to connect with faculty members, how to determine, even what type of research you might be interested in. They sort of keep a running list of faculty members who are either actively looking or who are available to take students in their labs, whether it's virtual or there are also some labs that are still they're scaled down in terms of their operations on campus, but they are still open and they're working. And as we scale up our research lab capacity, the undergrads that are involved in research and undergrads that will become involved in research are also considered critical research personnel. So they will be available to get into those labs and start doing research work as well. So yeah, I would say, if you have a student who is interested in research experiences at UC Davis, or if you just want to find out more about it, look up our Undergraduate Research Center under the Undergraduate Education website. I believe the link was posted earlier when I was talking the first time around, because that's basically what they do. That's what that center is there for.
Great, thank you. Kevin, I have the next question for you. What are some of the qualities employers look for in student athletes? And maybe if you could share a little bit more about how the EVO program helps to amplify our students in being prepared for after UC Davis.
Yeah, we get a lot of feedback from employers that the employers value the time management skills, the teamwork skills, the communication skills that our student athletes have learned through their participation. But importantly, employers also want to see lots of internship and job experience, just the same as for all students. So that's really why EVO, that's really a focus of EVO, is to make sure that student athletes who of course are very interested in excelling in their sport and they spend a lot of time on their sport, but we make sure that student athletes are also able to have access to the types of pre-professional opportunities that employers are seeking, just the same as they seek them for all other students.
Thank you, Kevin. That is really consistent with the research around having an internship or experiential learning prior and how it helps after. So So at this point, what we will do is ask our panelists to just give one final closing comment. We'll go in the order in which we started. Cynthia, if you'd like to give a closing comment, please.
Sure. So I actually think that to close on sort of an optimistic note, we are going to come out of this better than we went in. As somebody who studies educational technology and learning in online environments in particular, I get this question a lot where people sort of go, oh, is this pandemic going to just sort of ruin universities and we're just going to do all online schooling? We're all going to be University of Phoenix or whatever. And I think absolutely adamantly no. One of the things that we have, I think, realized, all of us in this, is how much our place-based campus education matters, how much we miss being in the same space and interacting meaningfully with one another as part of our learning experience. And so none of that is going to go away. I hope that we are smarter as we come out of this about how we use our campus spaces and our instructional time, and think about actually having it matter that we are together and that we're learning together, and that's meaningful. But I think we can do that, and I think it'll be great.
Thank you. Rao?
Thank you again, Pablo, and thanks to everybody who has been part of this today. I came to UC Davis about 4 years ago after spending 28 years at Ohio State. And one of the things I keep getting excited about every day here is the quality of the research faculty that we have. They're doing some amazing things. And there is a trend, unfortunately, where commercialization has taken over and several universities are becoming a little bit more commercial in terms of what they do. One of the most exhilarating aspects for me is being part of UC Davis. That doesn't happen here. Faculty still care only about their scholarship, what value they bring to society, and are very devoted to what they do in their research and to what happens in the classroom. That trend is going to be making UC Davis one of the finest schools in the world, because as many people have told me many times, the biggest problem at UC Davis is their humility. They don't talk about all the good things that they do. And the more we start making ourselves more visible, the more people will start realizing what a great institution is that we are part of. And pretty soon, it'll be one of those schools that people will want to be saying, I want to go to UC Davis, not to any other school. So I'm very excited to be part of the change that is actually happening at UC Davis, and would love to see this materialize into what we are all hoping for.
Thank you. Joanna?
Well, I am extremely excited to be at UC Davis for precisely the sense of ability to create innovation. Our Global Education for All initiative is one of the very few in the country that took the whole public large university and decided that we're going to engage globally every single student. And in a certain way, ironically, we have been preparing for this pandemic, although we didn't know that pandemic is coming, but we have been with the Global Education for All preparing ourselves for several years to be at the moment where we can offer local and global opportunities through academics, through experiential learning, through living communities on the campus. So this breadth of the possibilities would have not happened if it wasn't for phenomenal staff. We tend to forget about the staff, but in fact, if we didn't have a staff, we wouldn't be able to do most of these things. We have phenomenal students, and we have phenomenal faculty. And of course, the leadership of the university provides the climate and environment that we can actually move forward. So I am actually very optimistic. I know the pandemic will end, and then of course, there might be down the road something else that will come. But I think we as an institution are very, very well prepared to take these challenges and come out of the pandemic in a much better shape that we have actually entered pandemic in.
Thank you. Kevin.
I just want to express to everybody, our thanks for your all's interest in this topic. Preparing people for successful lives is really what the university is all about. And obviously in athletics, we do that a certain way, but we're really proud in athletics to be part of a university that's so committed to this for all of its students. And we're very appreciative of your all's interest in it as well. So thank you all very much. And we're excited about what lies ahead.
Thank you all to our panelists. I want to thank our audience for your very thoughtful questions. I'd like to again thank all our panelists for sharing their time and insight with us. It's clear that, like me, you all have a deep passion for our students. I'd also like to thank all of you, our members of the audience, for joining us today and for your philanthropic support of our students. We could not provide such a valuable and well-rounded undergraduate experience without gifts from donors like you. Thank you. As the Chancellor mentioned in his video, our student body is filled with so many hardworking, intelligent, and deserving young men and women who are all trying to better their lives and become the change makers our society needs through education. With this in mind, we hope you will continue supporting our students in this effort. There are many ways in which you can get involved, whether it be through a scholarship, funding a global learning experience, supporting our student athletes, giving our students work experiences, or supporting of their entrepreneurial ambitions. The list goes on and on. Whatever your passion may be, there's a way that you can support it and also influence a person's life in a very powerful way by making a gift to support our students. If you're supporting any one of the initiatives discussed today by our panelists, or support another area of the student experience, you can contact Lauren Kidd, our Assistant Vice Chancellor for School and Unit Programs. On behalf of the university, thank you again for joining us today. We hope you are all staying healthy and safe, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Goodbye and thank you.